All right, appears to be live. Wait for the, routine. Wait for the stream to become live on the real page, and so I can do the chat thing. We see the chat window, one of them, some sort of, and there it is. Okay, so I guess we're done. All right, so. I was thinking I would direct this to Ken Wheeler guy, the angler photographer guy. Just this beginning part anyway. Just as I am seeking this conversation, some sort of way to argue through things, because there's such a, I mean, quite obviously, I'm sitting here kind of in my middle position, I'll call it. And on the left there's crazy people, and on the right there's crazy people. So you got the conventional physics that's fucktarded on one side, and then I got the naysayers, the debunkers, the skeptics on the other side, and they're all Tesla nuts. Okay, so it's not even like they're not even to the right, they're actually to the left of these guys, but it ends up being on my right. They're so far left of these guys on my right, that kind of thing. So it ends up being circular, and you end up on between these two poles, and you're just saying, what do I do with that? But it's just this idea that you should be able to have these, you should be able to make videos and have video exchanges with people and have conversations about this stuff, first, without it getting personal, and second, that are constructive in the sense that you can talk through some of these points. So my biggest argument with the Ken guy is that he's so over the top, especially in this, calling Einstein an imbecile and all this kind of crap. And, Tesla was the father of everything. None of us could walk on Earth if it wasn't for Tesla. And then he talks about a religion, and you're just like saying, well, yes, you're sounding like religious kooks to me. I was just thinking about it because this last video we did, you should think of the title. It's not coming to me, but it was something to do with space being something. So he's critiquing the Einstein bent space thing. I've critiqued it. But in a sense, I'm not critiquing the concept. If you think about it more fully and just ignore the superficial semantics, it seems clear Einstein, by saying bent space, he's implying in a way space isn't nothing. He's implying it's something. So it's not really nothing moving something. Obviously, for space to be bent, it has to be a something. You can't bend a nothing. So even in that sense, if you're a little bit generous, you could understand. Now, my argument would be is that the idea is not incorrect, in the sense that the idea that there's a mechanism out there that creates something like bent space, that we all know this inverse square thing exists, this divergence, as Susskind would call it. Now, the idea of calling it a divergence, well, from the sun's perspective, if we were to look at it and call it an attractive force, then we could say, yes, the attractive force diverges as it leaves the sun and becomes weaker and weaker because of the divergence of the force, the diluting of it. But the real catch is, that it's not a divergence, it's a convergence from the external field pressure. Now, the Ken guy often talks of the ether and pressure. So it's kind of like he gets that part. But the ether can't be nothing either. His description of an ether is vacuous. It contains no rendered detail, no conceptual mechanism. It's just stated to be this thing, okay, that has no innate properties, except he'll use the word inertia, which doesn't make any sense because you have to be a something to have inertia. I would argue you have to be matter, because photons can't possibly, or force, can't have any inertial state because they only have one state. They move the speed of light in a straight line. So inertia is irrelevant because they only have one state. They can't change their state or their inertia. So anyway, but clearly Einstein's bent space. So if Ken was at all fair, I think he could realize that what bent space is doing is providing a illustration of the mechanism, the force. But it's an illustration. It's not necessarily. It's not just like he isn't providing anything called a diagram of electricity, anything that makes any sense. Just doing wavy lines doesn't mean anything. A thing, with wavy lines that isn't moving at an exact speed in an exact direction doesn't mean anything. So you have to quantize your elements. And if you're not willing to quantize your elements, then I say you're not providing anything that's useful as a theory. All right, so again, back to the Einstein thing. So the key is that in 3 dimensions, it becomes obvious that Einstein's he can't be talking about a nothing, because that's when the words, as soon as you 3-dimensionalize it, that's when the words divergence and convergence become relevant. Essential. You can't talk about it without using those words. So clearly it is a vacuum cleaner. It's a mechanism that's the end result is that there is this pressure difference. And so you wouldn't talk about the pressure difference regarding a nothing. You would talk about pressure difference regarding a something. And clearly, like when Susskind describes the divergence or convergence, he's describing a something. He uses examples of water or some other medium being a liquid, something being moved by having a drain and a source. So there's a source of the thing and a drain for the thing, and that's why there's a convergence or divergence. So I just think that it's unfortunate that the common man likes things put into words like space-time. I don't know if Einstein himself came up with that as a word, as something crammed together. But regardless, even if he did, I think when you're talking about space in the Einstein sense of it, you're not talking about a nothing, you're talking about a something, because it has properties. And that's the whole point. So to say that it's a nothing cannot have a property, well, of course nothing can have a property. A nothing can't have a property. But clearly Einstein's bent space does have properties, and those properties are essential to the function of the bent space. So there's really no point in saying it's a nothing then. We have to just concede that when we talk about bending space, we have now made empty space into an ether or a something. It's a substrate of some kind. It does have function, it does have properties, it does have action. So, all right. So the real point is that it's obviously not, Einstein's obviously not an imbecile, because he came up with mathematics capable, okay, of recognizing the subtleties of the influence of this convergence and how different bodies are producing the convergence or the divergence, and it came up with very precise mathematics to calculate how that process works its way over time. That's how he did the mercury thing. Now, he was wrong in his assumption that light is a mass in the traditional sense, in that it has 3-dimensional mass, which it doesn't have. So it can't be moved by force because it has no identity in perpendicular dimensions. It only has forward and it has forward and the implied reverse. But yeah, that's all it really has is the forward. It never does the reverse. And that's it. That's what force has. And as I am pointing out, it's a little more complicated in the sense that the actual ether, the moving bits, don't actually change anything except their polarization, their recognizability. They become filterable based on property, but it's not the property of their momentum. Their speed and their direction doesn't change. What changes is what coat they're wearing. So they go into matter wearing a blue coat and they leave wearing a red coat. And that's the difference. Their polarization is captured by the matter, and it switches. It takes the coat off of one and gives it to the other, kind of thing. So properties of the elemental ether bits are changed. So I mean, you know, so in his last video, the Ken guy, I can't remember the exact phrase he used, but it was some phrase where he almost implied that his Tesla ether is an active ether. Now, other times he talks about it as just being something things wave through, you know, they vibrate through. And people who defend the electric universe are really just talking about it as if the universe is a conductor and they're pushing electricity through it, like space would be conductive, and that this electricity thing is what's moving and pushing and pulling and doing all of this stuff. But it's, again, in my opinion, the biggest flaw with those descriptions of reality is that they are vacuous in terms of drawing a picture. They don't make anything coherent or reasonable. There's no way to understand the mechanism. They don't have a diagram of the ether or a diagram of the thing going through the ether that is at all, that has any mechanical, recognizable, three-dimensional substance. It's this vacuous fluctuation, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't doesn't say anything about what it is and what's moving it. So that goes to the Miles Mathis guy, who is, again, he's talking, charge is a substantial part of his theory as far as I can tell. But again, charge is not explained. It's just left as this is a thing things have, and now they're attractive or repulsive. But there's no explanation for why they're attractive and repulsive. How exactly do they repulse each other, or how exactly do they attract each other? Where I'm giving you a mechanism where there's actual water, and I'm showing you the stream, and I'm showing you the flow of the stream, and I'm explaining there's styrofoam floating on the stream, so to speak, and that you can catch the styrofoam, and you know, there's a mechanism to catch the identity of the elements of the stream and move them around. Take them from this stream and throw them into that stream, and now the stream is moving the other way because now the styrofoam is moving the other way. The identifiable part, this visible part, the part that can have an influence on matter, can be easily switched from rail A to rail B, so to speak. But the rails don't change. Just their color, just their recognizable identity. Okay, so yeah, so my plea is that we should be able to have these conversations in some sort of rational context, and it just seems like all this. I mean, I use some rhetoric. I'm not very. I like Einstein, but again, I've been very critical of why are you selling this idea of bent space? I mean, it's just on its face. It's a cop-out. It's just taking the physics of gravity and taking it out of the three known dimensions and making it a different separate dimension, space-time. And that should have been, there should have been some sort of reaction to that where, wait a minute, if we're going to make new dimensions, we really, really, really need something to justify that. And it's that lack of evidence thing, the weak evidence for conclusions part that's really obscene here, is that Einstein's initial claim to fame was the discovery of lensing by his best friend in an experiment that's never been repeated successfully. Now, that should mean something, especially 100 years later. People should be a little bit over their Jesus walked on water perceptions, and they should be able to say, wait a minute, let's relook at this again and see whether this makes any sense. I mean, we've drawn a conclusion based on really weak evidence, and maybe that conclusion is felonious or whatever. And I would argue that I've done that with the double slit experiment, explained why there's really a problem with this whole wave theory and using these really, really weak evidence of a wave as proof of a wave. It's just wrong. And there's so many people I run into all the time now because they've been so ingrained with this wave notion, they think all frequency is a wave. They automatically assume that everything that has a frequency must be waving. And no, that's most of the things that have a frequency aren't waving. Obviously, sound moves in percussion waves, but again, it's a way of understanding it. But you can understand that when the plunger in a bell bangs on the bell, it's not waving. The little pendulum is swinging. It's not waving. And it hits the bell, and the bell, there's a wave that goes through the material maybe, and then that wave is transferred to the atmosphere. But the mechanism, the thing that initiates those symptoms, the true cause is not a wave. And I'd argue that most of the things that we hear as sound is fundamentally, I haven't made this argument in over like a year, but this is another sort of important thing, that all sounds are really breaking of the wave concept, in the sense that all that we detect as sounds are really something moving. A thing has to move faster than the speed of light to initiate the transmission of sound. That the wave can't be initiated until you exceed the medium's tolerance. And it's moving something faster than the medium's tolerance that creates the propagation of the wave. I wouldn't use that in mechanics to see it, but what they do is they take these mechanics now. So the real problem is so I have the conventional physics that's using some of this wave stuff, okay, and inappropriately labeling particles. And then again, like I said, the Ken guy's on the other extreme, where he won't accept the existence of anything called a particle and just wants to deal with waves as if everything is a wave. And there's no such thing as a point force that has a velocity and goes from here to there. And it's a thing. It doesn't wave its way there. It goes there and it takes a certain period of time to get there, the speed of light. That's the limiting factor, and that's what makes everything perceivable, is the fact that it takes time to travel, the thing to travel. All right. I think it is possible, theoretically, I suppose, to ether the checkerboard that this whole thing is made out of. my argument would be, though, is that that checkerboard would have to be understood that the squares themselves are constantly banging into each other. You might not see them doing anything. They stay black and they stay red, but they're constantly traversing through, or they have a capacity, they have a movement, and that movement will be realized in when you do send something across the checkerboard. Let's see how to say that. When you send matter across the checkerboard, it won't affect the checker. It won't affect the board pieces. How to say that? Yeah, you need something in between the checker and the board for me to illustrate the point that it would only be the checkers that are something solid like matter can be moved by the movement of the board, but something like the force, like magnetism or any of the other forces moving the speed of light, can't be moved by the movement of. And mute me like you're some kind of man. No, you're a dickless fuck. I mean, what is the point of shit like that? I mean, I really, if we had an election and I could vote for it, I would say they should assassinate. They should go out into the world right now. They should find you and kill you. You have no reason to live. You really have no business fucking with this room. It's my room. I have free speech rights in America. You're violating my fundamental constitutional rights when you come into my room and decide to mute me. You don't have any right to do that. You don't have any business doing that. You can only be called a gutless fuck. If you have an opinion, a counter opinion, then open your own fucking room and express your fucking opinion. But you have no fucking right to step in here and do that, you stupid cunt. And the fact that Google lets you little cunts do that is Google's bad. But frankly, like I said, I'd pass a law and I'd have you fucking assholes shot.
So why are you talking shit about me, bruh?
Joe, probably another anonymous coward.
You talking shit about me, bruh? I heard my fucking name. So what's
Let's
good with
see,
you?
is my sound on? Yeah, it must be, because I heard my video before. You have something to say, Joe?
You hear me?
Yeah, there's a real functionality test here, okay? So you either have something to say or you get the fuck out.
Do you hear me, bitch?
Especially people don't even have an icon. Just doesn't impress me. Such a dickless fuck. Gee, I mean, you know, so there's Joe. Joe also attempts to mute me. Joe. But yeah, we should really go out and find these people and just do the right thing. Put the little sick monsters out of their misery. If they can't find something else to do on planet Earth, then interfere with somebody attempting to express their opinion. You know, fuck them. I mean, they're worse than Muslims, for fuck's sake. I mean, there's just, you know, what can you say? Yeah, no, it's just this, you know, it's not a big deal. I mean, this is the typical YouTube bullshit. This is what you have to put up with when you attempt to express your opinion online. It's, you know, I have people crank calling me. I have people sabotaging my websites, attempting to. And yeah, so they'll fuck around with this room too. It's just, you know, just completely, you know, I don't need to lay off the meth. You need to fucking realize your dick is going to stay really small, okay? And you're never going to be able to fix that. And so you might as well kill yourself, you little fucking weasel. So why don't you get to it? Die fast. You have no dick, you're useless, and you suck. So yeah, do the right thing, kill yourself. Fucking prick. You're less than a prick. Yeah, I had to reload the thing because I should have opened it in a new tab, I guess. Right thing. My bad. Yeah, I'm sure you don't have any dick, let alone a black dick. Don't exactly know how he gets away with that. I blocked him. It didn't work. So I guess I have to do something else. Gee, thanks, YouTube. Let's see. They should just give you features here without having to fuck everything up. All right, block user again. And then I can delete. Well, it's already deleted, so okay. Good enough. Look, I don't need your advice either then. Just go to hell. I'm not feeding him, asshole. He's obviously muting me in my own fucking room. How am I feeding him, you stupid shit? You can fuck off too. Ugh. I might as well just kick you out of here. Just kind of, I can only block you. I'll put you in a timeout. Fuck off for a while. I'm just sick of people and you're all such stupid fucking cunts. You fight anything, they say, you're feeding the trolls. Fuck you. There's things worth fighting, asshole. Oh, just amazing. Pussies who want to just sit back and take it up your ass. Well, I don't take it up my ass, dude. I don't let people call me a dude. I don't let a lot of things happen because I'm not a fucking, I don't like having skanky dick up my ass like you do. All right. So anyway, back to the fun. So anyway, I think I made a point. That's really all I want to do with this video is that there's really, there's really not that big a difference. So all these people are talking as if we have huge conflicts in these fundamental perceptions, and they're really not huge. They're over stupid interpretations. I mean, whether, this idea of this light being some sort of wavy thing versus light being a solid thing. But the point is it's still going from here to here. And whether you say it's Heisenberging and it doesn't know where it is, well, we're going to end up agreeing where it ended up. And that's the point. And so it's not that big a difference. You're just interpreting a cause, but we have to agree on the effect. The effects are the things that are experimentally demonstrated. What we're really arguing is just causes for those effects. And even those arguments about causes have an awful lot of fundamental agreement. So in a certain way, clearly, when Susskind talks about space-time or bent space, when he doesn't say the words space-time or bent space and just says the word convergence or divergence, we agree 100%, because then he's basically talking about the exact thing I'm talking about, which is we have a medium, a fluid, and it's active. It's not dead. And it's not made active by matter. It's active already. Okay, and matter just reveals its activity by creating the thing called a shadow. So just as you don't make your shadow's made because the force, okay, casts the shadow around you. So the force is the active bit. I'm not making gravity. Gravity is the consequence of me being in the force, me being in the field, me being in that thing that is converging and diverging. Me being in it is causing the effect, not me. I'm not generating gravity. in any real sense. It exists out there, and I affect it. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and then that goes back to the Ken, the photographer guy, in the sense that that's the ether. So, I mean, whether we call it ether or I call it a field of particles, why do we have to obsess, okay, about, I think we need to argue
Could be in your post.
those semantics. I think those semantics are really important. Yeah, it's probably a troll there too. The good news is, you know, my own website thing, the message boards, I can now, you know, because of the new hosting account I have IP blocking. I mean, it's just really fun, actually. So yeah, go ahead, knock yourselves out, assholes, because I'm really enjoying, you know, you know, you enjoy it, and you find out pretty much that, yeah, all the assholes use this, whatever it is, you know, the IP that starts with 192 or something. It's like China or Russia or some kind of bogus bullshit, you know, and all the trolls use it. So you just block the whole entire range of IP addresses because the only people using them are cowards, anonymous, trolling, criminal cowards. So anyway, so knock yourselves out, assholes. I really do enjoy blocking IP addresses. It doesn't sound like Pokemon fun, but it's got to be as good as Pokemon. I mean, blocking an IP is just so much fun. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it really is exhilarating. So keep them coming, fuckers. Keep outing yourselves, so to speak. I got your number, so to speak. Anyway, so what else is there to say? Yeah, so it's just this idea that we should be able to communicate about these concepts and maybe find some more agreeable way to isolate the stuff we can't agree on, if there is stuff we can't agree on. But I really just don't think it's there. I mean, it's always going to be there if one side, if the Ken guy is going to say Einstein's an imbecile, he's an idiot for saying it. Because obviously Einstein wasn't an imbecile. Even if Einstein is wrong, and I believe he is about some things, and even if his illustration of the cause is not the correct illustration, it's the correct function, it's just the wrong cause for the function, you know, then it's still a well-constructed, well-conceived, conceptual metaphor or analogy, and it's not anything that could be called retarded. I tend to wish to say yes, it shouldn't be something that everybody just went for, and it's like when I use fish as an analogy. If somebody takes me seriously and thinks photons are fish, well, yeah, no, don't do that. That's an analogy. Okay, I'm not speculating that the universe is full of fish. But pretty much. No, really. You know, fish that have color that can be changed when they interact with matter. Something like that, you know, a property that's easy to change, and they only swim at one speed. But anyway, it's that simple. But it just seems, we see the other problem with Ken and the electric universe people, they just use all this terminology that has no meaning. I cannot say lack of inertia, which doesn't make any sense. Nothing can have a lack of inertia. It just doesn't make any sense. Bull shank. You think I care what you say either? Yeah. You need quantifiable models. Well, again, there's already there. Didn't I just mention Susskind? Didn't I just say when Susskind is talking about a convergence or a divergence, we have absolutely no disagreement because he's talking about a medium moving, and essentially the pressure created by the force I'm talking about would duplicate that identically. You couldn't tell the difference if it was a medium, okay, or not, because it's a field of particles. You think you could tell the difference between if I made ball bearings so tiny, as small as water molecules, you don't think it would behave just like water, retard? Jeez, why don't you go fucking die, you cunt? Ugh, disgusting, putrid pieces of shit. Block, thank you. Goodbye, cunt. Make an argument, okay? This bullshit of attacking me and my purpose is just so bogus. Either defend Huygens, defend the two-slit experiment, defend that light is a wave based on some experimental evidence, point to some fucking proof that lensing exists, that a photon has in fact been bent by gravity. Show me the experiment that proves that one, or shut the fuck up. I mean, my argument is their evidence is weak. Show me a piece of hard evidence, or shut up. God, I just can't stand these fuckers. Yeah, I'm mean. You can fuck off. So, yeah, I mean, but really, these commenters are just so useless. Goodbye, fuckhead. Ugh. Jesus. I wish they would just leave the comments for now, just so I could capture them and put them in the comment section later, just so you could have seen the inane, useless drivel of the inane dribblers. Suck dick, idiot rager. You won't get anywhere with that attitude. Says you. And you're qualified by what? You're a 14-year-old dick? No, you're not, you stupid piece of shit. I love that they wasted time making an account. He's got an account called Andy Cuntaham. So he actually wasted time making an account relevant for this, just for this stupid purpose. Shit. Did you have to provide a phone number? Yeah, did you? So at least that's good. Go ahead. Waste time making accounts to be a troll. And obviously prove my point that human beings are basically characterless blobs of useless shit. You know, that dogs are better. And I don't even like dogs. Possums are better than people. Yeah, we should feed humans to possums. Generally speaking. So yeah, so what else is I want to talk about? All right, so what I have noticed is that there's about 5 million. Yeah, I wish I could do the screen share thing, but I just don't think it will work. I suppose I could try it. I'm going to hit the button. Let's see. DraftScience settings now. Full screen. Google Hangouts. Full screen. Well, let's go with that. And start screen share. See what happens. Whoa, cool. That was pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to go to my search, and this should come up. All right, so you should be seeing this, I hope. But anyway, so this is the Google Plus. I guess I could make it full screen, and then it would be more effective. So this is the Google search on physics for communities. So, but they have all these physics communities, hundreds and millions of them. Now, Google doesn't list them in any particular order that I can find. So there's ones with, 100,000 members, next to ones with 9,000, 601 members. I mean, all kinds of numbers here. So I just figure I'll go down the list, but it doesn't appear to be that there's anywhere in here where I can actually do something like filter. There's no way to filter this list. So to find the ones with the most members or to find the ones with the most activity, no way to do that. It's just retarded. So how does Google figure out which order it gives me these frickin' things in? I probably should start at the bottom first. The neat thing is this picture, this round picture in the middle here, I made a table that looks just like that, except the outer perimeter was like mountains and trees. And then there was sky, and then there was space, and then there was cosmos and all that stuff. But the colors are all so close to exactly the table I painted. I have pictures of it. Lacquer, really nice table. But it's just kind of weird. It's so familiar. I mean, the clouds here, in the middle, kind of look like the atmosphere, where I did the sky going into space. Very similar. Anyway, that's probably irrelevant. All right, so I think I'm doing enough of this screen cherry thing, so it worked, I guess. Right? I think it worked, right? Yeah, it must have worked. Google Hangout, so yeah. Stop. You are screen sharing. Present to everyone. Well, of course you should have done that, you dumb fucks. You didn't present it to everyone? I'm presenting to everyone. I don't even know what that means. That's just fucktarded. Yeah, I wanted you to do that the whole time, you dumb cunt. All right, so anyway, this is the Google Plus community search. And like I said, there's no way to filter the results. And I just find that really irritating. I don't like Google telling me, which ones are better than others. This doesn't seem right at all. I should be able to decide. You can't do anything with the search function. It just turns into this home, profile, people, events, pages. Doesn't, nothing to filter with. Anyway, so enough of that. Just pointing out, so I'm going to start doing that. I'll go to these different rooms and I'll see if I can provoke conversation with somebody who's willing or yeah, gotta be careful screen sharing. You got a millisecond of pornography. Where is my Hangout? There it is. Okay, where's my other window? I guess it was this one. Yeah. All right, so I don't want it full screen. That's the problem. And now I can click on this. All right, and now I can get rid of this stupid sharing thing. Well, anyway, at least I know it works, and I know not to have the wrong thing loaded in my browser when I screen share. Anyway, it's also challenging. So, and I really hate being social. I hate typing, so I'm going to have to type stuff, which I really don't want to do. Oh yeah, I have to go back to the room here, right? So, comments, DraftScience. Where the hell is the room? Must have killed it. DraftScience. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's the crappy chat. Why deleting? Because I don't accept assholes saying shit. I mean, what do you want? Why don't you accept having crap thrown in your face? Why don't you like eating other people's crap? Man, you're just too dumb. Well, it's not even because it's mine. I wouldn't accept it if I was a participant in somebody else's room. If somebody's just going to do this raggy shit, I'm not wasting my time defending myself to a troll. If the person who runs the room can't kick trolls out, then I'm not playing. It's just no point. Well, Bootstrap, you can fuck off too. You're not in the movies, by the way. So, fuck you. I mean, really, you can't make points relevant to the conversation. I mean, I can't I can't title it more obvious. It's draft science. I'm talking physics most of the time. And if you assholes can't type something relevant to that, then yeah, fuck you. I don't need to hear your comments. I don't need your opinions. Are you, any of you assholes really going to tell me that your people say anything or comment anything that does me personally any good, that educates me in any way? At best, sometimes you can force me to recognize that, oh, wait, Gary, people are really stupid. And so if you answer that stupid guy's comment, there's probably some other stupid asshole in the audience who didn't get something. And so now you can explain it to them. Well, again, this isn't about what I want. It's about what is constructive. I'm not here to entertain trolls. I'm not here to engage with trolls. I'm not here to defend my life. I'm here making an argument about fucking physics. This isn't about what I want. Jesus Christ. I don't know why you people have such a tendency to sit there and have some kind of default notion that somehow, oh yeah, no, everything should be free. People should be free to slander people. People should be free to make false accusations. They should force people to explain when the last time they beat their wife was and how many times they molested their kids. And they should have to waste their time explaining how they haven't done that. No, they shouldn't have to do that. Ever. Unless you have a fact. So unless you have an argument to make that's fact-based, there's no argument. And even if I was some sort of homicidal serial killer and somebody had evidence of that, this wouldn't be the room to argue it. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, it's just... So the other thing that Ken, the photographer guy's been doing, he's been talking like humans just can't do what I'm doing. They're just too stupid. They're not superior enough, and they're not, all this. He's really, it's really quite funny. He's talking like he's some sort of alien, and that only he can get it. And regular people just can't get it because they're too stupid. But there is a certain truth to it in a sense, because people are just. I mean, I just keep running into it. I keep just saying, man, people are so fucking stupid. I mean, you really have to explain everything. Ugh. I guess that's why the world is such a mess. It's because, yes, most people are retarded. I mean, most. 98% pure retard. I might as well say 99. I might as well say 99.99 times pi cubed or something. Because nobody impresses me. I mean, since Jack Kevorkian, I haven't seen a decent human. I mean, they all suck. Shit. All right. So that's a different subject. All right. So anyway, so that's just basically what I want to do with this video, is just basically say, look, there's plenty of room for a conversation, and there should be. This difference between Einstein and Tesla is not as big or a cavern as these people try to make it out to be. Why are you back, asshole? I mean, why? Why? It just makes no sense. I don't know why I can't block somebody who comes into the room. I mean, that would be the easiest. I can eject him, but I mean, I should be able to block him. Anyway, there's so many features here. They're just so broken. Like I said, it should just be a button that's on all the time. And I just, I shouldn't even have to go to the menu. There should just be a button that always shows. It just says, kill this fucker, kill this fucker, kill this fucker. Gee, that's really brilliant too. Yeah, that's right. I've been smoking cigarettes my entire life until they became too expensive to smoke. You're just too interesting. Fuck you. Oh man. Just asshole after asshole after asshole. I knew you smoked something. Well, that's just such a relevant comment. So meaningful. Got right to the core of the subject. I mean, the great thing is when I do win the Nobel Prize, these videos will still be out there, and people will actually maybe have a conversation about, gee, that really was a waste of Einstein's time, wasn't it? Like if Einstein had an open room and a bunch of douchebags just pop in and do this stupid crap. You smoke a pipe. I knew you smoked something in the pipe. you know, you know, you wasted Einstein's time with that shit. You dumb cunt. And then maybe people say, yeah, like, let's go out and shoot these fuckers. Let's find all these assholes, and we can give them to the military to use as target practice. You know, and we can put the Arab garb on them, and some Muhammad, burqas and stuff, and just have the military use them as target practice. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. We can just put the trolls in burqas, and let the military practice shooting them. Cool. Suicide bomber coming. It'd be so cool. And then they could video that and put that on YouTube. Because I'd watch that video, fuckers. I ain't gonna watch a cockfight. Ain't gonna watch a bullfight. Ain't gonna watch a dog fight. But I'd love to watch the military shoot trolls. Good fun. See, I mean, your civilization is doomed when people won't even defend it anymore. They won't even fight for any semblance of it. They'll just say, no, let the hecklers own the world. Hecklers are so great. No, they're not. I don't give a fuck. You think Muslim is a race? Then guess what? You're fucking stupid. Yeah. Oh, it's borderline racist to be against an ideology. Oh, is it? No, I don't think it is. I think it's borderline. I think it's completely over the line of completely rational to hate stupid, ignorant philosophies. That's right. Violent, crazy, ignorant, stupid philosophies should be vigorously hated. You dumb fuck. Yeah, well, whatever there is. I'm not here for the audience. I'm really trying to find an argument. So I really don't give a fuck about audience. I really just care to test the veracity of what I'm saying against somebody who's a little bit fucking rational. Yes, we know. I already pointed it out that Muslims aren't a race. So you pointing it out again is a little bit redundant. It's also pretending like I didn't say it. I just said it. But okay, whatever. Maybe it didn't post for 3 minutes or something. I don't even care if Muslim was a race, frankly. Yeah, there'd still be good reason to hate a race that was stupid. So if there actually was a race that couldn't help itself and just had to be a dumb fuck, yeah, that would be a race worth hating. Dumb fuck is the race? Yes, let's not have dumb fuck. I really hate the what's going on. Well, know what's happening at this very moment? I'm blocking you. That's what's happening right now. See, I'm going to block you because you're an idiot. I'm not here to personally explain to you the 3-year effort I've been making, or whatever it is, 2, 3, yeah, it's almost 3 years now, trying to just basically explain I found the unification theory. It's all quite simple and obvious, and man, you people are dumb as fuck for not figuring this out, because it shouldn't have been me. Should have been somebody a lot smarter than me that did it, you dumbasses. But yeah, I mean, what what kind of asshole shows up somewhere and goes, Please, everybody, stop what you're doing and explain to me what's going on, okay? I mean, how can people be this fucking stupid? I mean, is there a... I mean, it's just so fucking stupid. I mean, how could you be dumb enough to think you're like, you walk into a movie when it's already like half over and you just stand up in the theater and go, could everybody just stop and explain to me what's happening so far? Because I don't know. Jesus Christ. Yeah, well, it's okay not to disagree. You know, it's just it's okay to agree. That's not really the point, but I'm not obliging you to make an argument just for the sake of making an argument. I'm just explaining what I'm attempting to do here, which is, I mean, there's a truth to be described, and that should be everybody's priority first. Clearly, you all have personal incentives to not look stupid and not be wrong and all that kind of crap. But there should be ways to have conversations about these fundamental issues. And if I say something like the evidence for lensing is really, really weak, somebody should be able to say, no, it's strong for this reason. They shouldn't just keep pretending the evidence is strong. I mean, they should deal with the accusation. It's not an erroneous, irrelevant, stupid, unfounded accusation. I've defended the accusation by pointing to the evidence and saying, look, the Edinburgh experiment was suck. It was never repeated. Hubble telescope could do solar lensing experiments every single day, and for some reason it doesn't. Why doesn't it? And the lensing from galaxies doesn't make any sense under any kind of Newtonian understanding of gravity. So unless they invent dark matter, they can't make any of that shit make sense. And even with dark matter, it doesn't make any sense mathematically. It's rubbish evidence. So if I go through the two-slit experiment and point out the single-slit experiment, I point out how Huygens is a contrivance. There's no evidence that waves make an infinite number of little tiny microwaves that turn into the wave, and none of that. There's no evidence of that ever happening in the history of the physical universe. It's completely contrived to put the number 2 in the single slit math. That's all it's there for. It's there to do one thing, put a 2 in there so they can create 2 photons, because they have to have 2 photons to create interference. And there's no way to create a second photon in the single slit experiment. So they don't have the convenience of a second slit to just, hey, we have another photon over here. They can't just do that with the math. So they have to have a trick to make a second photon, because they can't make one in any kind of other sneaky way. Even though the double slit math is still bogus for claiming there's a second photon going, there's a photon going through both slits. That math is already bogus on that assumption. But the Huygens thing is just so obviously bogus. I mean, it's worse than pretending another photon went through the other slit. It's worse. It's saying 2 photons went through one slit. I mean, it's just retarded. Anyway, I understand what you're trying to do. My only incentive to watching this and others, this other than some other video, is that I'm also waiting for someone to give you an argument you're waiting for. Well, that's, yeah. Well, I mean, I think some of this is useful just because I find some of it useful in terms of you realize things as through the process of the conversation that you know, you just might not have occurred to you. And like things like this whole reflection argument, and you know, that you know, generally speaking, it's kind of complicated, because reflection looks like absorption, in the sense that you're getting back the opposite reaction. So you have to have an action to have an opposite reaction. And you know, that's interesting. But anyway, I won't get, you know, there's more interesting things. I just couldn't think of any off the top of my head, but there's been so many things I've realized through just talking through this stuff that have been, well, even the idea of calling gravity a nuclear force, it never occurred to me in my whole life. Thinking about gravity, I never thought of gravity as being something that's affecting only the tiniest bits. It's not affecting my whole body. It's affecting each individual atomic bit. It's moving each one of those things. It's accelerating each one of those things individually. It's not, it's not a surface phenomenon. It's granular, very small. Yeah. And that tiny atom sitting right next to me is exactly, it feels the same gravity I feel. I mean, that's a concept that you kind of know it, but you have to really think about it to say, gee, that's the truth. That something as tiny as a little grain of dust has to have exactly the same velocity as me, exactly the same configuration for it to be in the condition it's in too. So, yeah, I don't know if ignorant blather is the right term, but it's almost like a god of the gaps, right? I mean, dark matter is kind of a god of the gaps. It's the invisible man. It's just such a made up thing. I wouldn't, ignorant is, I mean, you almost have to say it's ignorant in the sense that it's so silly as an explanation. I mean, it's so contrived that part should be obvious. I mean, you're just contriving a superpower, right? I mean, you found webbed footprints at the scene of the crime, and so you're just contriving a way to put webbed feet on the criminal, and it's just silly. I understand, I can take a joke now and then. That fucking whatever it is, that smushed emoticon thing I don't like, whatever that is. What is that? It's lumpy. I mean, I just don't know what's the point of making an emoticon. It ain't even round anymore. I don't like it. It's creepy. Anyway, boy, it's getting hot in here. Just turn the fan on, I guess. I guess I could do that. I could turn the fan on, probably. Possibly. It's way over there. Hell with it. I'm not going to stay too long anyway, unless somebody shows up. As I've accomplished my purpose, I think. I hope. But yeah, there should be a way to make, I don't even like this live room thing. I mean, I'd much rather make video exchanges with people because I like the idea that you can take in their whole argument. You can think about your response to it. You can, it doesn't have to be a sloppy adventure. I mean, I often make spontaneous video responses to videos, but those are because they're so stupid that you might as well just make a spontaneous response because you're not going to have to think about it because their premises are idiotic. But if somebody actually made an intelligent argument, you'd want time to be able to think about what they're saying and not have to respond to it in the next, you have 15 seconds to, compose a reaction to what the guy just said. And that's not a really great, that's not perfect, or ideal. That's not an ideal circumstance. The ideal is to have something that moves, that is engaging and all that, entertaining and all that shit. I understand that, but it's really good to be able to make thoughtful arguments and responses that are calculated and well constructed rather than off the cuff kind of, banter. So let's see. And great way to suck taxes. I don't know what that even means, but who cares? We'll block this guy again. Weird people. I did a smiley face, but smashed together, but it had to make it into a gumdrop thing. Yeah, that's it, gumdrop. I was trying to think of the right word for that, but yeah, it's whatever it is, a gummy. It's not even a smiley, right? It's like a gummy mediocre. It's like a mediocre face. So, I don't know. The whole thing is a little weird. But everything's weird. Pokemon is weird. Pokemon. So where was I? Oh yeah, summing up. Yeah, so I think I made my points here that it is kind of like an argument about religion because people have just gotten so tied up in the rigidity of everything, and it's like you can't even say Jesus didn't wear sandals because somebody's like, nah, Jesus wore sandals. Jesus wore sandals. It's just like because the Bible says so, and it's just it's like it's just so fanatical, and but like I say, some of it you can't get past. I mean, there's no way to get around the fact that there's a difference between particles and waves. But it should be understandable that what we're really talking about is the conveyance of a thing, okay, from one place to another. And, the effect is so particle rich. And I think they'll concede that photons land like a particle. Does it really matter how they fly? But like I said, I think it does matter just because you have to understand that the photons aren't doing the waving, that the electrons are the things that cause photons to do something. Photons are really boring, and they only become interesting when you throw them in an electron. An electron is the guy fucking with the photon. He's the one. He's the one doing the wavy thing. He's the one with the complex movement, and the photon's got the simple movement. So I mean, those distinctions are important, but I just don't, there's the inability to have conversation that might be able to get through some of that. Like I said, I mean, maybe me and Ken, the photographer guy, the air photographer, maybe we could agree that if we redefine this ether thing, and he finds it acceptable to say, okay, the ether is ball bearings, obeying a simple rule, they go in a straight line, they move the speed of light, and that's it. That maybe we could agree that would create pressure, and the pressure he talks about, and that it's when he says lack of inertia, what he's saying is absence of force effect, a shadowing from the force, which would be a similar argument to mine that but again, this is the real thing is that even the kinetic explanation just gets complicated because what's really being exchanged is a feature, and it's just this polarization thing is so critical. And like I said, for light, it's just the frequency thing. It's just ether with a frequency. But see, Ken says stuff like that. He says everything's ether. Well, so we agree. Everything is the force, and the only thing that changes is that the force is filtered for properties like polarization and frequency. And that makes everything else. But they're just so glued to their rhetoric. I mean, they're just so glued to electric universe and, lack of inertia. Which is I still don't know why he says that. Just doesn't seem like a reasonable thing to say. I mean, for a guy who's supposed to be big on words and words having meaning, lack of inertia is just not possible. I mean, something not for anything that's a thing, it can't have a lack of inertia. It's always going to have a velocity, either zero velocity or some velocity, but it's always going to have one. So it's got some kind of inertia. Yes, enculturated. It's yeah, it is. That's probably part of the problem is that people don't have there's no conversation within education or even how to be a human or instruction on how to be a human. there's no there's no education on this idea that yes, we have to speak a common language, and yes, the vocabulary and the words have to mean similar things, or what we'll be saying to each other will get totally confused. um, and that these are certain rules of logic and the whole non-contradiction thing, and that's really got to be avoided. I mean, but there's people who, with a straight face, will tell you it's okay if I contradict myself. And then it's, you're like, what do you mean it's okay? It's okay how? How is that okay? I mean, I think hypocrisy is okay as long as you admit it exists. I mean, it's fine to be a hypocrite, in the sense that you could say that do as I say, not as I do, because you could say I'm too much of a scumbag to be a nice guy, but I know that being a nice guy is the way to go. I mean, I'm smart enough to know that being good is good. I'm a selfish scumbag, so I can't make myself, even though I know it's the right thing to do, I'm too selfish a cunt. So that kind of hypocrisy is okay as long as you're admitting, okay, your duplicity, in the sense that you lack consistency between um, your knowledge and your abilities aren't the same. So I mean that we can be in that position, but a contradiction, willful contradiction, I don't see how that's possible to ever be defended as participating in a. I mean, there's no point in making noises if you're going to make contradictory noises. It just doesn't make any sense, really. So anyway, have I said enough? Probably. Shall I move on? Yeah. The PBS thing, they did do a new video on lensing, and it's just as bad as their old video on lensing. So I'll probably go over that, but it's also related to this. Is another video doing the whole Einstein glorification thing, one of these TV show kind of things, whatever they are, panel conversations, about how whatever, and they just gloss over the whole Edinburgh experiment. They just keep pretending like this was an established hard piece of evidence, and it was incredibly weak evidence. I mean, look, if I send out my best friend to go out and find evidence that Gary is the coolest guy on earth, I mean, it just is. Is anybody gonna take that evidence seriously? Let's see. Evidently, folks, still those fellows and audience. It's a shame. I don't know exactly what that means. Still those follows and audience. Actually, folks, still those follows and audience. Yeah, I don't. I think you meant to type something else, but whatever. Yes, it is a shame, though. Okay. Still give those fellows an audience. I get you. Yes. Well, that's you got to tear them down before people can know they're weak. Somebody's got to punch them in the nose, and they got to start crying, and everybody can, oh, gee, they're what a pussy. It's like you didn't know Mike Tyson would be. You didn't think hey, he is human, until somebody beat the shit out of him. It was kind of a thing, you know what I mean? I mean, it looked indestructible. And then you said, oh, but wait a minute. If you do this, this, and this, you can destroy them. So there is a strategy, I suppose. You know, it's like anything. You got to demonstrate the vulnerability. And nobody's taken up the challenge to demonstrate the, you know, just how naked these emperors are. You know, they're just, yeah, yeah, they're just, yeah. I mean, I'm honestly naked, you know, but they're just, you know, they're trying to sell this idea that they got it, you know, and they don't got shit. And their decoder ring is completely made out of, you know, Cracker Jack crap. It's not decoding anything. Yeah, just ain't good enough. So anyway, I guess I won't bother posting these comments in the chat because there ain't much here. But anyway, and I read most of the ones that are relevant, I suppose. So thank you, honored guests, and till next time. I just keep trying and we'll see when, you know, I know if I schedule this, it would be a lot better, but I just really can't tell, you know, yeah, you know, early in the day, I really can't tell if I want to do this at night. But I really, the odds are I will, so I probably, it's probably better to schedule it and not show up than not schedule it, I suppose. But I don't know. I think people would get the idea that, oh yeah, well, Gary, I can check. So they could just check, you know. If there's nothing by 12:30, oh yeah, okay, I guess he's not doing one tonight. Something like that. I don't know. I think people could do that. I mean, they know it. They're always about the same time. So, I mean, it's not that big a deal to check. I don't think. It's not asking too much. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. So, till the next time. Have a tolerable whatever and try again next time and such.